All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. And this video is not for any monetary gain. It is explicitly for the reasons stipulated in the Copyright Act of 1976 under Section 107.
I was brought up in, quote, Bedford-Stuyvesant in my time. But I would like to say what scares us is I think we hear violence.
The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 25, and it reads, "But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons." Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazal from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. All right. What I want to do with this video, I want to land back off of one of the elders in our camp, Elder Gabaria. He did a video yesterday titled, "You Edomites will most definitely receive violence." You know, you're going to most definitely receive violence from, what you've done to Jake, throughout history. Your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it was based on this clip from a Louis Farrakhan appearance on the Phil Donahue show in 1990. This was a two-day broadcast. I believe the first one began on March 13th, 1990. And, it resonates well with me because I was about 75 days away from graduating college that year, and this was one of the most anticipated interviews ever at that time. This was before, long before, 17 years before the wave of YouTube and the surge of the Israelites as you see today. Back then, Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam was a going thing. The only ones who showed a strength in numbers, but needless to say, that's not where it's at. It is with the true nation of Israel, with the GMS and those who teach the same doctrine. Okay, Um, that's where it is, because we teach the true name. Yahweh being the name of the Father, meaning He exists. All right. Bahashem meaning in the name, and Yahweh Shai is for the Son, meaning He saves and He delivers. All right. It's not Allah. It's not Allah. Okay. That's not what it is. Our Lord spoke in the Hebrew tongue, according to Acts 26 and 14. He did not speak Arabic. All right. And those people who are following Islam are not Arabic either. But nevertheless, that was 35 years ago. Um, IBM was the top manufacturer of computers. The whole CPU was about the size of a suitcase. Your data was stored on a 3.5-inch floppy disk and a 5.25 of floppy disk. The fastest processor at that time was like a 486. So it's been a long time, a very, very long time. The monitor was like a small old school TV set. Um, the characters on the screen was a black screen or dark gray screen with green characters, green letters, no graphics whatsoever, and the system was DOS, the acronym DOS, DOS for Disk Operating System. So just give me an idea of how long ago that was, and here we are now, so far advanced. But what hasn't changed is that guilt that he said that she was feeling, that we're going to do to them what they did to us, and we're not those kind of people. Not yet. Not yet. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has not raised that standard yet, or raised that spirit up. But that is definitely a prophecy in Genesis 49 when it comes to Judah. Who shall rouse him up? That might is going to come back. That fight is going to come back, because these people have done a terrible thing to us and over the years. And like he said, what that lady was feeling was guilt. But that guilt did not start with her. That's always been here. Because Thomas Jefferson, let me get this quote, he felt it too. He says, indeed, and this is an excerpt from one of his speeches that's down here. It says, indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. And it's Thomas Jefferson, Notes on the State of Virginia, denouncing the evils of slavery. So he knew then. But did he care? No, because he still had slaves on his plantation. He still had slaves. So that mindset has not changed. It was there then. It was there back in 1990 when that lady spoke, and it's here now. And now you can see it more. They can feel it now. A little bit of what we've been enduring for all these years. It doesn't sit well with them. Now they want to be friends. No, fuck that. I want to be your friends. It was all fine and dandy when we were going through it. They even still help you. We had the 3 strikes rule when it was a crack epidemic in the 1990s. You go to prison. 1 ounce of crack got you a mandatory sentence. Okay, the same amount of cocaine, which is what the more rich people could afford. You pretty much got a slap on the hand. And the crack was made from the cocaine. All right. So no, don't want to be your friends, and you're going to pay for what you did, according to the scriptures. These are not my words. All of you want to, you got you Edomites, you so-called white people out there talking about you Christians. Yeah, you got to read the Bible. You are indeed, no doubt, the Edomites that the Bible speaks of. Just like those curses describe us, you being the wicked in the Bible, it describes you to a T. A liar, a murderer, thief, deceiver, adversary. That's you all day long. You know, your entire nation. All right. So yes, you will pay for what you did, and the hopeful elect are just just waiting on that opportunity. We relish that day. You know, and I say we because hey, you know, I got to believe in something. The way this world is going, and I'm going to believe, in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. There's nowhere else for me to turn personally after sitting in Christianity for over 40 years. Nowhere else for me to turn. And when your back is against the wall, you're gonna fight. You're gonna fight for that position. You know, it's all or nothing. And even while I'm fighting, should I become a martyr? As the scriptures say, strive for the truth until death, and the Lord shall fight for you. All right, just that simple. Just that simple. And by me doing that, even if I'm wanting to go, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses about 15 through 18. Those who died in Yahushua HaMashiach shall rise first, and then those who are left behind will be caught up in the air in the clouds with them. All right. So yeah, either way, stand in this truth, stand faithful, and doing it to the end. I'm gonna win anyway. All right. But in your case, Esau, Edom, for everything that you did, nah, you're gonna lose. A two-time loser. Especially you lower level Edomites. Because a later president, Lyndon B. Johnson, said if you can make the lowest white man think he's better than the best black man, pretty much you can empty his pockets because you've given him something to look down on. And that's what you all have done. All right? But yes, you will pay for what you did. Like the scripture says. Colossians 3:25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there is no respect of persons. See, we know that the Lord has reserved the wicked for the day of destruction. The reason why you haven't seen any judgment right now, because he's saving you up for that time. This is the book of Job 21 and 30. I'm going to start at verse 29. It says, have ye not asked them that go by the way, and do ye not know their tokens? The tokens being your signs. And your main sign is wickedness, theft, murder, robbery, rape, pillaging. So-called white man, that's you. That's your history all day long, especially when it comes to Jake. All right? And he says that the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. That's right. In the day of wrath. That's why, according to Psalm 73 and 5, you're not in trouble as other men, because you're being saved up for Judgment Day. All right. Might as well go ahead and have your fun now, because it's going to be short-lived. All right. In fact, the Bible tells you that. Go ahead and do that. All right. This is Lamentations chapter 2, and let's see here, chapter 2 and verse 21, or was it 4? Slovakia. Was it 4 and 21? I believe it might be 4. 4:21. Khan, that's it. Yeah. I was thinking of something else. It says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup representing judgment, okay, also shall pass unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And that's what you're seeing every day. As beloved old Apostle Dahar declared, the year 2025, the year of our salvation and the destruction and judgment of the year of the salvation of the elect, Salakia, and the destruction and judgment of Esau, Edom. All right, and that's we're in that day. This is it. Every major kingdom, had a lifespan of 250 years. America is in its 249th year, and there's supposed to be a huge parade next year. And this is me just speaking as a man, as the scriptures say, when he is about to fill his belly, the wrath of the Most High shall rain down upon him. That's just what's been on my mind when it comes to that parade, because that is the ultimate form of disrespect and celebration, especially what's leading up to it right now and how you're trying to harm Jake. All right, but yes, you're going to pay for what you did. Like I said, I don't want to make this too long. It will be violent, it will be violent. You can rest assured, because you brought violence. Now, we won't be doing the unrighteous stuff like buck breaking and things that are not lawful. But hey, with that rod, we're gonna destroy you. All right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Verse 21. It says, prepare a slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So we ain't trying to hear that stuff. When you want to say, I wasn't there, that was my ancestors, I had nothing to do with that, what is it telling you right here? Basically, you're going to get fucked up for what your fathers did. Point blank, period. All right? We're still enduring it. And besides, according to Job 34 and 29, it's at the Lord's discretion whether he wants to deal with a man or deal with the nation. He dealt with Israel as a nation. Get that in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, I want to say verse 9 through 13. All right, he dealt with us as a nation. Even the judges who he appointed over us were afflicted along with the rest of the nation. All right. So what makes you, if he does that to the apple of his eye, what do you think he's going to do to the people whom his indignation is against, righteous anger is against, the one he hates? Romans 9:13, as it is written, Jacob I have loved, Esau have I hated. What do you think he's going to do with you? Even the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary makes it very clear. Edom is the only neighbor of Israel who will not receive mercy in that day of judgment, because you didn't show any mercy, according to James 2 and 13. All right. You can also get that in Psalms 109. You showed no mercy. Amos 1 and 11. You cast off all pity when it came to Jake. All right. Your hatred tore perpetually, continually. It never stopped. All right. Back in Isaiah 14, it says, prepare a slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. You will never be in rulership again when this is over. Never. All right. Never. It says, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. What's that? He said, cut off from Babylon the name, Edom, your true name, and remnant, okay? What's left of you, and son and nephew. Those are all males, which means your seed line, all right? Which means your seed line. Salakia. Salakia had an plantation interruption. So back in Isaiah 14, verse 22, once again, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua of hosts, and cut them off from Babylon, the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord. So yeah, that's the whole seed line that's going to be wiped out. But before that happens, you have to serve us, okay? You have to serve us, and you get that right at the beginning of this chapter. Verse 4 to verse 1. It says, for Yahweh Bashem Yahushua will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. Okay? Israel. Okay? That's a cut to those imposters over in the land right now. That's all 12 tribes. Right now, they call themselves the Jewish. All right? Which, is not a name. That's some made up shit. Once again, like they always fabricate stuff. It's literally supposed to be the Judeans, for the southern kingdom of Israel, and as well as the nation of Judah, the tribe of Judah itself. But all 12 tribes are supposed to be over there, okay, and set them in their own land, okay. That land is from the great river of Egypt, which is the Nile, all the way over to the Euphrates. They don't have that entire area right now. The people outside of the headquarters of Israel, as described in the book of Joshua, chapters 13 and 22, are occupied by everyone they're fighting with right now, with Turkey right above them, okay? And they were just complaining about the United States about Egypt, getting too close to Mount Sinai. Well, they got beef with Egypt anyway. The second Egyptian president, Gabal Abdel Nasser, in 1952, he was quoted saying, there will never be peace in Israel because the Jews left here black and they came back white. All right? Proving they're not the people in the land. Okay? He says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And those strangers, are Israelites that were born in strange lands. Okay? You can go right to Moses' son, Gershom. Okay? Leviticus 25 explains that. Okay? Who the strangers are. You're of the seed of Israel, but born in a strange land. All right? And it says, and the people shall take them. Who's those people? The Israelites. And bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for servants and handmaids, and shall take them captives whose captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. Who is our oppressor right now? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right? And if you don't want us to rule over you, there's a price for that too. All right? This is Isaiah 60 and 12. Now, this is a different type of stranger. He says, and the sons of strangers, okay, because we at that time we will all know that we're Israelites, because we will be in our land. We will not be strangers to our own land. Shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote. Oh, Salakia, wrong one. I was reading. It's 12. Salakia. It says, for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. All right. So, yeah, those people who are brought into the land to serve us as handmaids and servants, according to Isaiah 14 uh, and 1 and 2. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, he's going to have mercy on us, okay, in our land. And you don't want to serve, you're going to be utterly wasted, just like the scriptures say, and that's on the spot. But when it's all said and done, Esau, Edom, you're going to be wasted, period. All right? Let's go back to that Obadiah. As the elder mentioned, we've been doing a series in his video, and I'll put a link to his video in the description box called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. Okay? And just going through the history of atrocities that this devil has done to us, over the centuries, since the beginning. All right. So yeah, you're gonna have to pay for that. This is the book of Obadiah 1 and 18. It says, "And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame." Okay, Jacob representing the southern kingdom of Israel, Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. Okay, and Joseph representing the northern kingdom of Israel, the other 10 tribes. Okay, your Latinos and Native Americans coming together. At this time we will be one nation again. And it says, "And the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them." What stubble? That's the stuff that's left over from being burnt up. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. After you serve twice as long and twice as hard, according to Revelations chapter 18, verses 5 and 6, that's going to be your fate. All right? And it says, "And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there should not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai have spoken it." There should not be any remaining in the house of Esau. So like that Lamentations 4 said, go ahead and have your fun now, because it'll be the last time ever. You will never see the light of day again once this day comes, and it's coming. Let me get this in the blue letter, in the NLT. Verse 18. The NLT is on the right-hand side of the screen. It says, "The people of Israel will be a raging fire, and Edom a field of dry stubble. The descendants of Joseph will be a flame roaming across the field, devouring everything." See, they said the descendants of Jacob. That's all 12 tribes, okay? Devouring everything. It says, "There will be no survivors in Edom. I, the Lord, have spoken it." No survivors. Okay. Esau's claim to fame back in Genesis 27, around verse 41. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, "The days of my father Isaac are at hand." Pretty much when he dies, he's going to slay his brother Jacob. Okay, if he slayed Jacob, there's no 12 tribes of Israel. This doesn't happen. We don't exist. We're not here now to this very day striving for the truth. Okay? If that had have come to fruition, but it wasn't in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's plan. But the fact that you want to do that to us, now it's going to be done to you. All right? You will no longer exist. And you're long overdue for all the wickedness that you've done on this earth. Like I said, with those videos, we're on 143 right now, maybe 144. I know another brother was doing one today. Hey, we've barely scratched the surface of the stuff that you've done, both the men and the women. We get on them both, so-called white men and so-called white women. She is not exempt either. All right, but before she goes, she's gonna make one hell of a concubine. That's for sure. They already turning on you right now. All right. What's that? Job. I think that's Job 27:15. When stuff hits the fan, and they gonna realize that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is a coward or weakling, they gonna turn on him. I think that's it. Yeah. I'm gonna start at verse 13. It says, "This is the portion of a wicked man with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and the heritage of oppressors, which they shall receive of the Almighty." All right. Verse 14, "If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword." That goes back to that Isaiah 14, 21 and 22. All right. "It is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread." It says, verse 15, "Those that remain of him shall be buried in death." Still alive, you gone too. "And his widow shall not weep." That's right. She gonna be with a Jake man. Point blank, period. All right. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like to the speckled bird, also known as the Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal. We got next, and yes, there will be violence. There will be violence. All right? We're going to rule with that rod of iron. Dash those children against the stones. Your children against the stones. Yep. All right? Shalom.